What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. Got another week of golf for you this week, so that means you've got myself, Justin Van Zuiden, alongside Mr. Notorious, Derek Farnsworth, coming off the PGA Championship last week. And we've entered the stretch of the season where Scottie Scheffler is just going to dominate every week. It took a little while, but we finally hit that time period. And I don't know about you, Noto, but it just seems weird when he dominates events. You know, I can't quite wrap my arms around why everyone loves Tiger. And, Tiger was doing this back in the day, but now we feel kind of bored when Scheffler dominates tournaments. I mean, does it have to be a longer period of time to become a thing, or are we going to appreciate this more 10 years from now? I don't know. It just seems to me like there's a disconnect from, modern day Scheffler doing what Tiger did versus everyone loving Tiger.
Yeah, I think it's just a personality thing, He's not that exciting on the course or off the course. He just gets the job done, dominates in a fashion that isn't all that exciting. Greens hitting the right side of hitting the fairways, hitting the right side of the greens, making everything look easy around the green. So I think it's just he's not everyone's favorite golfer like Tiger was. But yeah, I mean, the run he's been on has been incredible. Certainly think it needs to be appreciated. And yeah, unfortunately, I was not on him last week. I decided to go with Bryson and Rory as my favorite spins, and definitely ended up costing me.
Well, Bryson did fine. I had a lot of Jon Rahm too. The closing stretch kind of hurt a little bit. It didn't cost me thousands or anything like that, but would have been nice to see Rahm hang around. But he got aggressive trying to chase there, and certainly can't blame him, given that he's not playing on the PGA Tour now. So what's he got to lose other than a few dollars, which probably aren't relevant for him anymore? So. But wish he would have kind of stayed up there in the top 2 or 3, but ended up, on that tough stretch at the end of the course there, 16, 17, 18. There was a lot of bogeys going around, and, Rahm just decided to be pretty aggressive, ended up fading back to 8th. The rest of your top finishers, all 5 shots behind Scheffler, Harris English, Bryson, and Davis Riley, another really strong week. He's had a bounce back year. Taylor Pendrith, JT Poston, and Johnny Vegas finished 6 shots back. And then it was Rahm, Fitzpatrick, Siwoo Kim, Keegan Bradley, Ben Griffin, Ryan Gerard, Joaquin Niemann, Joe Highsmith, Denny McCarthy in a huge group at 4 under that all tied for 8th. So not as many big names. I mean, you had Scheffler, you had Bryson, and you had Rahm, and a lot of the other, bigger name guys were buried down a little bit. That includes Rory, who didn't have his best week. Xander didn't have his best week, but, perhaps part of that played into the little bit of anticlimactic Sunday as well.
Yeah, all the big course history guys ended up struggling last week, which was a bit surprising to me. I don't know if that had to do with it being a major and they changed the course up a little bit, or with it being much softer than it generally is at Quail Hollow. But yeah, I mean, a bunch of shorter hitters were in the mix. McCarthy, Gerard, Ben Griffin, JT Poston. So the bomber angle didn't work out all that well. Bryson was up there, but he kind of tends to dominate all courses. And yeah, just not a big bombers leaderboard. I guess Vegas is a bomber, and he kind of hung around there for a while. But yeah, you just kind of had to, be really good on approach, because if you missed those greens, it was really tough getting up and down. And yeah, that green mile ended up costing me a bunch of money on Sunday. Bryson ended up going backwards. The Rahm, what did he finish? Double, bogey double.
Yeah. 5 over in the last 3 holes. I couldn't remember what order it was, but
yeah. And I thought he was going to catch Scheffler there for a minute. He had a 6-foot putt on, 14 to tie it up, and then ended up missing that, and then couldn't get up and down on the par 5. Ended up having I thought he was going to have a good eagle look, and it just rolled right off the back of the green. And then Scheffler just went on a run there at the end. So, yeah, it's good to see him pick up his second major win. And now he, if he wins the next 2, he can complete the career Grand Slam the same year as Rory, which would be kind of cool.
That would be pretty interesting if that comes to pass. We'll have to wait a little bit longer for the U.S. Open coming up next month sometime, probably right around a month from now. We'll see if Scheffler can keep it rolling with another major, but he is in the field this week for the Charles Schwab Challenge, which we'll get to in just a second. But any other takeaways from last week? You kind of summarized it pretty good there, and Scheffler with another win. I don't know if there's much else to go over.
Man, I would love to get one good cut sweat to go my way. I had Nearguard Peterson on my best lineup, looking like he was going to get 6-6 through, and made a 30-foot putt on 18, which never happens to me, to get to +2. So I was like, hey.
I'm shocked it didn't stay at +2.
Finally going to get 6-6. Yeah, I think at the time it was like 60% to +2, and then like 15% to +3, and 15% to +1, and then somehow ended up just playing a little bit easier in the afternoon. But that lineup ended up being terrible anyway. Most of my guys faded. But, so cut sweats are always fun. Glad we get another one this week instead of it being a signature event. And pretty fun stretch here. We got Memorial next week. Canadian Open's always pretty fun. And then what is it? Is the U.S. Open not too far after that?
Yeah, it's Father's Day weekend, so it's like the third week of June. So yeah, it'll be a month from now. And that was, would you say it was Nearguard Peterson that was on your lineup there?
Mm-hmm.
He qualified for the U.S. Open today. He actually won the U.S. Open qualifier in Dallas at -11 for 2 rounds. So he was the winner of that Dallas U.S. Open qualifier. There's a whole lot of U.S. Open qualifiers like the week before the U.S. Open. But they had the one in Dallas today, which awarded 7 spots. So Nearguard Peterson won that. James Hahn, Adam Schenk, a couple of amateurs, Lance Simpson and Cameron Tankersley, then Carlos Ortiz. Been a while since we've heard that name in DFS. And Johnny Kiefer are the 7 qualifiers. Doug Gim is the first alternate. So, it may not have got him through the cut last week, but apparently got him on the right track for today. So he's a U.S. Open qualifier.
Nice. Yeah, he's a bomber for sure. So got to like him here in a few weeks. But fun event. I always love Quail Hollow. We got an interesting finish there on the back 9, at least for a little bit. And then Scheffler's won by 8 and 5 in his last 2 events. It's pretty good. Pretty good
when you're, what was he a couple weeks ago, -1,200 or whatever heading into the weekend. And that wasn't quite as crazy this week, but the pretty clear runaway favorite after just a couple of rounds the last 2 times he's teed it up. And that brings us to the Charles Schwab Challenge this week at Colonial, final event in Texas. The Texas swing has kind of been going on and off between these signature events for the last month or so. Scheffler always likes playing in Texas, so that is likely why he's teeing it up the week after a major. If you think it's weird that he's teeing it up the week after a major, the last time he did that, or one of the previous times he did that, after he won the Masters, he won the next tournament as well. So it's probably wise to just keep on keeping on with Scheffler this week. But before we dig into the player pool, we've got a course that's been around for a long time. It's been hosting PGA Tour events since like the 1940s. So plenty of course history data to look at this week. What do we got with Colonial?
Yeah, so they restored the course in 2023, and so they put in all new greens, pure bent grass. They played really firm and fast last year, and the course got even tougher. So it was already a difficult course. It's a par 70. They lengthened the course as well, almost 7,300 yards. It played as the 5th toughest course on tour last year. And that includes the majors. So certainly a tough test. The fairways here very narrow. A lot of dog legs. So you would think it would be a lesson driver course, but I was looking at the Rabbit Hole, the little course database tool, and guys actually hit drivers 65% of the time here last year, which was easily the highest ever at this event. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Guys are trying to just cut off the dog legs a little bit by bombing it over the trees. And it just seems like, drivers being the play everywhere, even at these shorter courses now. So I wouldn't necessarily lean strictly on accuracy or anything like that, because I do think this will be more driver heavy than you might expect. The greens here are very small. They're difficult to hit, so going to be an emphasis on approach play, going to be an emphasis on around the green play. And that's why, the Kuchers, the Spieths, those types of guys, the Kisners have had so much success here over the years because, you just got to be good with your irons, good with your wedges, really good around the greens, and then got to putt well on bent grass. Looking at bogey avoidance, looking at golfers that play well on par 70s, shorter, more difficult courses. And yeah, anything I left out?
No, I think that's a pretty good summary. Don't mind focusing on the around the green game a little bit this week as well. And then otherwise, your pretty typical ball strikers paradise, and one where you're going to have to grind out some scores. The winning score generally hasn't gotten too deep into the teens under par. And last year, I think, was maybe a 5-shot win. So when you look at the rest of the leaderboard, I'm trying to pull it up here on the fly. So Davis Riley won at -14. Yeah. And Keegan was 5 shots back at -9. So Riley was the only player to get to double digits under par. So don't be fooled by the -14. It's not like there were a lot of guys in that mix. The cut line was +2, and there were, looks like, about a little more than half of the guys that made the cut finished over par for the week. So should be a pretty difficult test. Of course, the wind in Texas tends to have an impact as well. Seems like this week it's maybe expected to be a little bit more breezier on the weekend than the first couple of days, but be sure to keep an eye out for that weather forecast. As the tee times get closer on Thursday, we have 135 golfers, I believe, in the field. It's a 132 golfer kind of invite with 3 exemptions for past champions that won the event before 2000. So got a couple of old timers, veterans playing this week. All right, let's go ahead and dig into the player pool, where Scottie Scheffler is $3,700 more expensive than any other golfer. Going to go on a limb and say that's the biggest disparity between the top price and the second price that we've ever seen on DraftKings. That is not a fact. I'm just guessing, but it's a pretty good educated guess after doing this a long time. But Scheffler is 13-7. The last 3 years here, he's finished second or third every time. Hasn't won it, but obviously has been very close. It's generally a somewhat weak field the week after a major. And I mean, he's clearly in a zone right now. And when he gets in a zone, he's basically unbeatable. Or at the very, his floor feels like top 8. I mean, maybe top 5, who knows? But 13-7 is a big price to ask on DraftKings. So what are we doing with Scheffler this week?
Yeah, so I was on him 2 events ago. You were on him last week. I'm hoping we can agree on.
We're on the same page, I think.
Okay. So yeah, so you mentioned we don't have to worry about a hangover because number one, the last time he won a major, you won the next week. You mentioned that. We also don't have to worry about like a literal hangover. I don't think he's much of a partier. Doesn't get too excited about things, and was probably just spent the time a couple days with his family and then back at it. It's a home event for him. His top 5 odds are -150 is the best you can get out there. Some sites have it at -200. And again, I just don't feel great about the next range. So I'm going to lock in Scheffler. I think I'm going to make some lineups without him, maybe do like 60 to 70% of Scheffler instead of locking him 100%, but certainly going to be overweight and don't really see a strong case against him.
Yeah, what's interesting is there's nobody else on DraftKings that is better than +2,200 to win. And Scheffler is +240, -175 for a top 5, -340 for a top 10. Which, I mean, it's just crazy. His to make the cut odds are -2,500. Nobody else is higher than -450. So, or lower than -450, depending on how you want to read it. But it just basically there's no value almost anymore in betting him. It's just goes to show when he's on, the odds for him are going to be significantly better than anybody else. If you look at all of our data, I mean, Noto's data in terms of his rating for every golfer, Scheffler's 98 and some change. Right now, we've got him at like a 67% chance to be in the optimal. I mean, these are just crazy numbers that you almost never see in this modern age of PGA Tour golf. So, yes, we are on the same page this week. Don't want to have egg on the face. Just play Scheffler. Again, if the 1 in 20 chance happens that he misses the cut, so be it this week. I almost never lock anybody, but if you're playing 20 lineups, you get them in 15 or something like that. If you're playing single entry type of lineup, I don't see any way that you don't put him in there. And the optimal last week, by the way, the DraftKings optimal was Scheffler and Bryson and 4 punts. So, I mean, a similar type of build could work this week. Scheffler, then get somebody from the 9Ks and get 4 value guys. So obviously it's what happened last week isn't necessarily what's going to happen this week, but it just goes to show that it is doable as an optimal. We saw it just last week. So any other Scheffler thoughts?
Nah, just play him. Don't overthink it. And yeah, the fact that it's such a strong tee to green test only bodes well for Scheffler. He's typically better on these more difficult courses, and he's gained stroke putting in 10 of his last 11. So he's like a stroke better tee to green than everyone, and then now he's one of the better putters too. So playing Scheffler. Moving on.
All right, and then we have basically one golfer at almost every price point from 9K to 10K on DraftKings. And just for comparison purposes, because of how expensive Scheffler is, let's just go to the midpoint of the 9K range. This is not an endorsement for McNeely by any means. But if I put Scheffler and McNeely in my lineup, so McNeely is $9,500. With Scheffler, I have $6,700 per player for my last 4 spots. And the floor is 6K this week. There's nobody down in the 5Ks. So, again, if you play Scheffler plus somebody in the 9Ks, you're going to be around $6,700 to spend per player. Obviously, if you go up a little higher than McNeely, you're going to have a little less than that. If you go with a 9K option that's a little cheaper than McNeely, you're going to have a little more than that. But the point stands. So, do you think that's doable to get Scheffler with one of the 9K guys or Fleetwood at exactly 10K? And if so, you got a preference?
It's doable. I will say that this week, the 6Ks is not as appealing as it was last week. And we also had 5K options last week. Obviously, the field isn't as good. And then the 6K floor doesn't help. So I probably won't be building a ton of lineups like that. But you can. There's some guys in the 6s that I like. If I am going to play somebody with Scheffler, it's probably going to be somebody in the lower 9s, like Aaron Rai, a guy that very accurate off the tee, good iron player, gained 8 strokes on approach last week at the PGA Championship. Pretty good track record here too, 3 for 3 in cuts made. So I like him quite a bit at 91. And then I do like Berger, but it's really tough to make a good lineup with Berger and Scheffler. He just continues to be great. Last week, he should have been a lot better, just had a bad week putting. I think he gained over 8 strokes ball striking. And he's won here before. I think it was the COVID year or the year before the COVID year. So yeah, I mean, I like both of them quite a bit. I will be playing some Spieth in my non-Scheffler lineups. This is just a week to play him. I won a lot of money on Spieth at this event over the years, and if you look at his ball striking numbers, they're pretty decent. The short game's finally back. He's finally gaining a bunch of strokes around the green and on the green. So I'm going to play a little bit of Spieth, going to play a little bit of Berger, and then probably going to skip most of the 9Ks besides Aaron Rai. What about you?
Yeah, this is the week I can't hate on Spieth for sure. It tends to always work. He's better in Texas most of the time. It's just tough to work in with those Scheffler builds. So, he's better in the non-Scheffler builds. I prefer Berger to Spieth, but it's not an indictment of Spieth necessarily this week. Just when Berger first started to come around, it was all with the driver. Now he's added the approach play. If you look at, last trailing 36, 48 rounds, whatever you want to look at, the approach numbers are top 5 in this field as well as the off the tee numbers. So Berger is my favorite. Again, don't mind Spieth. Probably going to skip the middle part of the 9K range, and I think you get some reasonable savings with Rai. Again, on a course like this, I think stands out. And Harris English has been playing pretty well. Also, kind of career resurgence for him as well. Was shocked to see that he's only 35 years old. I would have guessed he's been playing since he was pretty young, but I would have guessed he was a little bit older than that. So it's not like he's headed for the Champions Tour just yet. He tends to excel sometimes on courses like this as well. A little bit more unpredictable, but don't mind throwing him into some GPP lineups. So unofficially, we'll rank the 9Ks as Berger, then probably Rai for me, then Spieth, then Harris English. I'll probably skip everybody else. Anything else on the 9Ks?
Just going to note, Bobby Mack, who I like to play, but he is one of the worst in the field on difficult par 70s and one of the worst in the field on courses with really small greens. like almost dead last in both those categories. So I just thought that was interesting if you're thinking about playing.
Maybe he just gets irritated like Terrell Hatton and decides to throw. He gets a little temper sometimes.
Remember last year's U.S. Open when everyone was getting mad, so Hatton was in an advantage because now everyone was on his level.
He's used to it. He plays like that all the time.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and go down into the 8s, where, again, if you're not pairing Scheffler with somebody in the 9s, probably looking maybe at one guy in the 8s, or I guess you could go all in the 7s if you wanted to, but I don't love the 8Ks all that much this week, but if you're, the interesting part, I think, to me about the 8Ks is you've got some guys that, right, the Truist ended up being more driver heavy than we thought. Obviously, last week was a really long golf course, even though we saw some shorter guys in the mix. But we've got guys that maybe we haven't looked at as much in a few weeks, like Ben Griffin, Brian Harmon's in here, Andrew Novak's in here, guys that would tend to pop a little bit more on these shorter type of courses. Those are the guys I think that are really interesting this week. They tend to play here every year, have pretty solid results. Harmon's probably my favorite, but I mean, Griffin and Novak, they're basically three that you can group into one bucket if you want to. Davis Riley's the defending champ here and played really well last week and has looked like a different golfer this year. So some interesting names to dissect here in the 8K range. I'm going to go with the shorter hitters and go back to Novak, Harmon, Griffin, especially if their ownership is anywhere around where we have them at right now, which would be all of them under 8%. I like that this week. So what are your thoughts on the 8Ks?
Yeah, this will probably be my starting point for my Scheffler lineups just because I don't love the 6s. So I'll probably go Scheffler and then probably one of the 3 that you mentioned. I like Griffin as well. Harmon's got the good course history here. He's been playing pretty well of late. Wasn't great the last 2 weeks, but I don't think the course fit was as good as this one is. And then Novak's just been on fire. So, yeah, I like those 3. I don't mind Lucas Glover at 8,100. He's back to being really good ball striker, and the putters just kind of failed him over the last 4 events, but he's got 4 straight top 40s here. So one of the better course history guys in the field. One guy that I won't be playing, and I can't believe I fell for Keith Mitchell chalk last week, but man, 9K for him after 6,200 missed cut. Don't think anybody's going to go there if you want to be a little contrarian this week.
Man, I bet on him to make the cut last week at like minus 150. I thought those were pretty decent odds, and he missed by 2. So at least he didn't get to +2, or that really would have tilted me. Being at +3, I never really thought it was going to go there. But yeah, that was pretty upsetting last week with Mitchell. Been on the wrong side of him far too much over the last couple of years. After he was my boy for a while, but hasn't worked as well lately.
Hey, I didn't end up playing Cam Young, and then he ended up playing pretty well. So I'm on the wrong side of him forever.
That's right. We're forever indebted to Cam Young for crimes we have committed. All right. Anything else on the 8s? I mean, I don't love a whole lot else in here.
I mean, Harry Halls has been consistent. Got a 3rd place finish here. Any interest there?
I don't hate him. I mean, I've played him probably more than most throughout the year. Maybe not as much in recent weeks. But yeah, I think he's solid if you need somebody right at 7K, or right at 8K. The problem is I like the upper end of the 7Ks a little bit. You could make a case for Hughes has been playing pretty good golf. I like Ryan Gerard this week. Bud Cauley's been playing really well. Alex Smalley is looking pretty good this week. So, I don't mind Hall, but I think I like those upper 7K guys a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. His game just doesn't seem like it's consistent because he gains it all around the green and putting, but he does it every week. I don't know how he doesn't have an off week with the short game, but yeah, don't mind Harry Hall. And then in the 7s, you mentioned Hughes. I think he's a great bounce back candidate. He was pretty popular last week at 5,600. A guy that can gain a bunch of strokes short game, and his irons have been much better this year. So I do like Hughes. Ryan Gerard's been playing great. I kind of thought he was going to just tank after getting out of that huge lead at the PGA Championship on Thursday, but still ended up finishing in the top 10. Thought that was pretty impressive. Bud Cauley has been playing some great golf, missed the cut on the number last week, so I'm hoping that'll keep a few people off of him. My model really likes Alex Smalley. He's been gaining pretty much across the board. He's got a couple top 40s here in the last couple of years. So I'm with you. I really like this upper 7K range. And then if you want a course history guy, Seabez has played really well here. Not a guy that I typically play a lot in tournaments, but he's pretty good for a made cut more often than not.
Yeah, solid options in this range, and you'll see a lot of people kind of peppering some of these guys in with those Scheffler lineups. Again, if you're not using another top end option, you're kind of stuck in the 7Ks for a lot of different plays. That works with these Scheffler lineups also. And Gerard is the guy that I tagged, but I was really close to tagging Smalley instead. They're really close in our projections. I think either guy is certainly fine this week. Let's see. Anything else? That's probably good for the upper 7Ks as we start to go into the bottom of the 7K range. Right now, I think we only have one more guy that's projected for double-digit ownership right now, and that's Eric Cole at 7,300. Otherwise, fairly spread out. Got quite a few bombers down here. Kevin Yu, Jake Knapp, and a mix of some shorter hitters as well. I see Chris Kirk's down here. I don't love a whole lot in the lower sevens, but again, you're probably going somewhere here if you're playing Scheffler. You're going to need some values in this lower 7K range. So, but I like the upper part of the 7Ks a lot better. You like anybody down here?
Can't remember the exact number, but I think Eric Cole's gained like 38 strokes if you count everything but off the tee over the last 6 events. So he's great on approach. He's great around the green. He's a great putter. And he's just a bad off the tee. So on these shorter courses, I don't think he's a bad play. He tends to be streaky too, and he's been playing pretty well recently. Outside of that, there's not a ton that I love. If you want to play the ball striking angle, Rico Hoey at 7,100. If you want to play the Texas narrative, your boy Toasty is back. He's played great in both the Texas events so far this year, or all 3. I can't remember. And then that's pretty much it for me. Maybe Tom Hoagie, good iron player. He's flashed some upside. He's a guy that could probably finish top 10 in this field, which I don't feel great about saying the rest of this range.
Mark Hubbard, another guy I don't mind. He's right at 7K. I thought he was in the 6s, but he's right at 7K. 3 straight top 15 finishes. It was in a lot of the alternate field events, but I mean, this field is not super strong. He's always a guy that excels a little bit more on these shorter courses too. And he's kind of put his struggles from the beginning of the year in the rearview mirror. If you're looking at longer term statistical data, I mean, Hubbard's going to look terrible. But if you look more at, last 18, last 24 rounds, something like that, Hubbard's numbers look a lot better. And I think he's fine as a punt value this week at 7K. And then that takes us into the 6s. Before I do that, I want to see if we can't fill up a snake draft, which, by the way, I liked that little showdown snake draft last week. Yours truly got $19 in his account for Friday with Ryan Fox. My last pick of the showdown snake draft was in 3rd place after the first round. So worked out well for me doing it 1 round instead of the full week. But I'll take the small victories in the snake drafts where I can. But we're back to having the full week snake drafts available. Not really sure what happened on that last week. And there is a $5 snake draft that is empty right now. So if we can all hop in there, that will help. And we shouldn't have any stragglers. Noto, did you get in there? Are you able to throw the link out there?
I'm not logged into the RG StreamYard, so we'll probably might have to have TJ grab it, or
I can do that. I can do it then. I can just post it under mine. All right. TJ said he was going to join us in the snake tonight too, so I used to always worry about my laptop and my microphone freaking out, but got a new machine. Seems like the problem is solved, so I threw the link to the snake draft in the YouTube chat. If any of you are interested, hop in there and we'll get that rolling as soon as we get to 6. Sometimes hard to fill the week after major, but hopefully we can get one filled up tonight. But while we're waiting for that, I'll come back to that in a second. Let's talk 6Ks. Again, probably needing somebody down here, and you definitely need people down here if you are going Scheffler plus another higher end play. You mentioned that the 6K is not quite as strong this week. Projections like Andrew Putnam a good bit. I don't mind going back to Danny Walker, who's played some decent golf this year. But outside of Putnam and Walker, I mean, if you want to go with Matt Kuchar or somebody like that, shorter hitter, I guess I get it. But there's not a lot down here. So anybody besides Putnam and Walker for you?
I mean, Putnam feels like the perfect play on paper. He's top 5 in this field in driving accuracy, and then he's good on approach, good around the green, good putter. So if he can play from the fairway, I think it's going to be a really nice week for him at 6,700. You mentioned Kuchar. I don't know what his upside is at this point, but he's made 13 of 16 cuts, and then he's made 9 of his last 11 cuts at this event. So a guy that I feel pretty good about making the cut at 6,800, which is really kind of what we're looking for, and then kind of take your chances on the weekend. Some guys that I feel better about their upside, Ricky Castillo at 6,900. He's got a couple top 15 finishes over the last couple months. A guy that's very good in the bogey avoidance numbers. It's a pretty small sample, but I like him. Don't mind looking to Victor Perez. He can pop at these tracks every once in a while. Joseph Bramlett, Danny Walker, all guys that I'll probably mix into my MME player pool.
Yeah, Walker is my favorite down there. I was just looking through course history. David Lipsky, top 20s here, back-to-back years. I think he is the only one in the 6Ks that has back-to-back top 20s. Kuchar did finish T17 last year. Robbie Shelton T9 last year, but that's about it. It's a little bit ugly in the value range this week. Like Valimaki is popping a little bit in our projections. I don't really have a strong take there. Prefer him on easier courses, I guess. But again, if you're playing Scheffler and another higher end guy, you're going to have to plug your nose and play somebody down here. It's what worked last week. Probably Putnam and Walker, I think, for me. Don't love a whole lot else. And we are full in our snake draft. Hoorah! And as usual in a Scheffler week, Noto and I get to pick 5th and 6th.
Perfect. Maybe Spieth will drop to me.
I'll take him 5th out of spite. Okay, so I can share my screen for the draft here. And if you are watching us live on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. We do appreciate that very much. And if you are not interested in sticking around for the snake draft, feel free to hop off. We do appreciate you checking us out every week. And we'll be back here next Tuesday, same time, same place. And let's see. I think I got my screen up here. So we're getting the draft rolling in about 30 seconds. So we'll get that started. Hello, TJ.
I'm in.
TJ's in. He's picking 3rd. We got a couple football helmets in front of us. I don't know if it's anybody that's watching the show. I would think so, since it was empty when we promoted.
If you are Lam Ram Lex or Craig 2525 or
Tug Rules is a regular, so we know
Tug
he's
Rules, drop a what's up in chat. Talk some smack.
Tug Rules lets his drafting do the talking. Nobody going to complain about getting the first pick this week in a snake, I don't think. Uh-oh. Is it stuck? Am I stuck? Let's try that question.
Looks like it's working.
There it is.
Yeah, I think I was stuck for a second.
What was the first PGA Tour event you guys attended?
Well, mine was the John Deere, as I've gone there a lot, and it's about 40 minutes from me. So I've Gone to the John Deere plenty of times over the years. What about
Do
you,
you
Noto?
remember who won the first one you went to?
Oh, no. I don't think so. I think I'm going to get the
Waste Management was my first one.
Oh, that's a fun first one.
Yeah. I've only been to that and then the match play, which I used to love going to, but no longer.
Disappointed they got rid of that.
Only one I've ever been to was a Players.
That's a good one.
It's a pretty good one to go to.
Sergio edged out Paul Goydos.
There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
I was cheering for Sergio so hard. I didn't want Paul Goydos. As much as it's fun for a no-name to win, I didn't want Paul Goydos to win the only tournaments I ever went to. So Sergio was pretty cool.
Is it just my thing doing this, or is it really only given 10 seconds per pick now?
Mine's showing 30. Or yeah.
So the clock is just messed up on my end.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably why it's showing 0 for the longest time. See, watch. I got the screen share going. You see that I'm not insane. When TJ picks, it's gonna show that the next person only has 10 seconds.
Yeah, you're not crazy. It's definitely just a weird glitch.
Yeah, that's the first time I've done one of these on the new
Hideki's getting
so.
falling down the board.
All right, we'll end that here. There. 17th is a little crazy. We'll take Hideki. Now it's freaking me out that I only have 5 seconds left. I don't love anybody right here. I really don't. I'll take Thompson. What was everybody getting all bent? People were getting bent out of shape at Michael Kim, and I couldn't follow why.
I didn't see that.
Maybe it was just a shtick or something. I don't know. I didn't pay close attention to who or what happened. And I was trying to figure out if he moved the cut line or something, and I don't know. I'm not even going to remember who it was. If I remember correctly, TJ is rooting for the Oilers now. Do they play? Is their first game tonight or not tonight? I think their first game's tomorrow.
Their first game is... I don't think there's any games tonight. Oh, yeah, there's Carolina and Florida tonight.
Okay, yeah, it's the other series. I had seen an advertisement that there was a game.
Tomorrow.
Man, Tom Kim is sure falling off.
Yeah, he has. All right, rolling through the 6th round here. And it's told me TJ's been timed out for a good 15 seconds. Got to be getting close.
I didn't realize it was me. My bad.
Well, that saved you from getting auto drafted with the guy that's out.
I had a queue ready, so
okay.
it would have gone anyways. But I was like busy adding players to the queue and didn't realize it switched to me. Just going through the lineup HQ tags and adding them all to my queue.
That's a fair strategy. Oh, it's happened to me. I've gotten burned with the out tags.
Yeah, if you win a snake with a WD, that's impressive.
How confident I am. I'm just going to put my bench as a player who withdrew. Instead, we have a team of full RotoGrinders tags.
It's a winning strategy right there.
I picked the 68th ranked guy over the 29th ranked guy, but still.
That's all right. Yeah, once you get into past the top 20 or so, there's not a whole lot of fall off between them. All right, that'll do it. Oh, and I guess Noto's got his last pick here, but all right. McNeely, Rye, Glover, Cauley, Akshay, Zudenhout, and Kitayama for Noto. Poston, Griffin, Matsuyama, Thompson, Hughes, Hall, and you for me. Spieth, Harmon, Gerard, Kim, Bridgman, Kirk, and Kuchar for TJ. And with that, we are through another week of the golf show here on RotoGrinders. Thanks to TJ for stepping up and producing for us on a Tuesday night. Thanks to Noto, as always, for joining me. And I am Justin. We'll be back here next week. Same time, same place. And we'll hope to see you then. Until then, take care. Good luck, everybody.